Hello, welcome back to Search with Sean, and this is another Chat with Sean episode. And yeah, lots going on. So I'm just going to do some updates as usual, to trying to get ahead. It feels like every day I'm doing something with this channel now, so it's kind of like keeping up with it all, and keeping everyone else updated. So yeah, we got a lot's been going on. So I've had Eric Kazoni on recently. That was a really good chat. So do check that out. Obviously, all the links have been in the description as usual. We had a panel show with a load of great experts on there. And we were discussing AI tools, which ones they use, which ones they recommend, how they use them. Also like automation, what they've been doing with that, vibe coding, all that sort of thing. So again, link will be in the description, some great guests on there. So check that one out. And also I've had a couple of like other YouTubers come on, and not so much in the SEO digital marketing space, but there's generally people who talk about AI, for example, obviously something I'm very interested in. So I had Clint from Night Shift come on, and also MJ from the Life After 40 YouTube channel. And yeah, we just had some real interesting conversations about AI and technology, and a bit like went down a few rabbit holes, but I like to do that. So if you're into that, they're great people, so check them out. And yeah, we'll finally get on to my fantastic guest there. I'm really excited about this one because I've been following her for a while, read all her newsletters. So now I get to finally talk with her, which is awesome. So yeah, today I'm joined by Ann Smarty, and yeah, Ann has 2 decades of experience in digital marketing. As I say, publishes a really fantastic industry newsletter, which I recommend. And obviously I'll put links in the description. And it's the co-founder of Smarty Marketing, which is an innovative agency specializing in SEO and AI-driven optimization. So yeah, welcome, Ann, and delighted about this. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, awesome. And there's not many, newsletters that I regularly go and read, to be honest, because I get so many. I'm sure like everyone in SEO is like inundated, even my own. Yeah, yours is always like one I make sure I open. I've also had like Nikki Halliwell on recently, and she also does a really good one. But yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks for that.
That's very nice to hear. That was my new project for sure. I started it when AI came into picture. So it was always like in the overlap between SEO and AI. And it's good to hear that it's useful.
It is for sure. And yeah, I appreciate it. So I guess obviously we're getting some topics, and some are just more generalized. Obviously, I feel like I have to ask everyone these days because it's just such a crazy place, search at the moment. So what do you make of this current, especially obviously Google landscape, and where do you think it's going to go in the next, I used to say 3 years, but now I could say months, but where do you think it's going to go in the next year, say? And what do you make?
If after ChatGPT launched and Google started trying to catch up with AI, we do not predict any further than like 1 year. If there is one thing we've learned, that's one, because it's developing. I don't think they even know where it is going. They're trying to compete with the market, trying to catch up on all the trends. And I'm not so sure they know exactly where they're going. We've seen where it started, though, and I've been saying that in my newsletter and everywhere else, is that Google has been an answer engine for 10 years at least now. So it's not new to the industry that Google is trying to satisfy their users as fast as possible. And of course, AI disrupted and like made this trend much faster and much more dramatic and much more noticeable. So now people are paying attention, businesses are paying attention to that when we are saying, yep, you will lose traffic. Yep, it's not going to be as predictable as it was 10 years ago. We don't know, and I don't think Google really knows where exactly it is going, like, let's say 10 years from now. In a year, there is one definitive trend that we are seeing. Traffic is not coming back. It's going to decline even more. And I'm seeing a lot of industry trends that are telling me that a lot of buying decisions and actual buying is going to be zero click, because AI mode, AI answers, other AI platforms are making those decisions for consumers. They do all the research. What I don't know, 3 years ago, to choose a product or a platform to buy, you should have spent a week of researching different options, what exactly you need, what the pricing is. And those were all clicks. Don't forget that. We're all clicking, clicking, and clicking. Even with featured snippets, people also ask, it was still clicking in most cases. Now it's one conversation with AI mode, and you have all the research. It is clicking. It is going to pages, but it gives the end user just the answer and comparison and all the follow-up question. It can also research further for you. And then you just know, these are 3 options that work for me, and just buy one of them. And I can see, even, I think the rumor has it, but I can see this coming, that ChatGPT is going to work with Shopify, have an agreement with Shopify, where people will be able to buy products right from the chat with no going to the site itself. So that trend is going to go stronger over this year. And we will see a lot more of that, like not actually interacting with search results, not clicking the site, but just buying. So I think that is the biggest trend that not many businesses are ready for, and not many websites are ready for. And some of the business models, I don't even have answers for, like publishing business. I don't have good answers for them. So yeah, this is probably what's going to happen this year.
Yeah, no, it's fair analysis. I think for UK audience and those countries that haven't got access to AI mode yet, obviously I've seen a lot of it because of people like yourself or Lily Ray, and they kind of sharing thoughts on it. But what should those audiences be thinking about, and what are they expected to see when AI mode rolls out to everyone else?
It's interesting how we are like guinea pigs testing all those new things in the United States. Yeah, I mean, it's very similar. It works very similar to, it's like interaction between AI overviews. You have those, right? Those are AI answers in search results. And ChatGPT. So it's a separate tab at this point where you can talk to Google and it will give you answers. That's pretty much like ChatGPT works. And it does rely on Google Index, but it runs on Gemini. So the Google visibility is still important, but not so much rankings, because there's absolutely different technology as to how to surface results. So it gives you all the references to the right. At this point, it has been changing, just like AI overviews for a few weeks now. But it does drive some clicks, but it's like 10% of clicks, because the answers are so comprehensive in most cases. So if anyone clicks anything to the sources of the answer, it's just, I would say, not to buy or do anything, but mostly out because they're curious what it is there. So they're not as well converting clicks, in my experience at least. And one more thing that happened last week, I think, is that AI mode is now integrated into the main tab of search results. When you go to Google, there is an option to type your search query and then either search or go straight to AI mode. So they're very, very aggressive, at least in this part of the world, to get it adopted more, because I'm sure when it's a separate tab, people wouldn't even notice there is something there. But now they're openly inviting people through pop-ups. Like sometimes you search and there is a pop-up showing to you, hey, would you like to try this query in AI mode? So there are all kinds of ways they're trying to kind of force that tab. And no matter how much we talk about, search results are still there. We cannot help but seeing that Google is trying very well and it's not giving up on their AI features for sure. So yeah, this is how AI mode works, at least. And I'm sure you will see it within a month or so, because we've been using it for at least 3 months at this point. Usually that's the benchmark when Google moves those features globally.
Yeah, we're always behind in that sense. But yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting. Obviously, Google have said recently, in their last main conference, that the normal search bar that we're all used to is going to be replaced, and it probably will be AI mode just overall in the very near future. That it won't be any traditional search bar going forward, I wouldn't think. And
I hope it will, as a user, not even so much as an SEO, but as a user, I'm hoping there will be some way to do traditional search. I do have a problem with AI answers, maybe because I'm not used to them, but my higher level problem is that it's too generic. You cannot dig deeper. And that's something you can do the search through a site, for all kinds of search operators or advanced searching or just digging deeper and deeper. And here in any AI platform is guilty of that it gives you the higher level answer. It's very hard to get research done the way you want. So I'm hoping there will be a way to search. But yeah, that's where we are going for sure. And we can see all the signs.
yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting. Well, obviously, we've, from my point of view, obviously, we're concerned about the health information that they cover. The majority of health queries are being supplied with an AI overview, which is dangerous for many reasons. But are they localizing the results? Are you seeing yeah, okay. Well, I guess that's something.
I think, not bad for local businesses. So there are two, that's what I'm seeing, at least from my perspective. There are two categories of businesses that will not necessarily win, but will be better off than others. That's one is local. Local maps are still there in AI overviews, just like they are in AI mode. They do localize results to the point when I don't want them to be localized. Like, for example, when I search for a local SEO, I'm not necessarily looking for SEO locally, but an expert in local SEO. Yeah, and e-commerce. I think that there will be a lot of integrations, and e-commerce websites that are paying attention, they will lose clicks even more, but there will be conversions, will be channels to sell things, like through shopping feeds, through integrations with ChatGPT or AI mode. I'm sure Google will be following ChatGPT steps in terms of shopping features inside those AI answers. So there will be still opportunities for those businesses, and we can see them now.
Yeah. Well, we'll get onto e-commerce in a second, actually. But in the sense of I saw something come out about market share, and I think it was about ChatGPT, OpenAI. They've closed the gap in terms of market share. Their market share has increased quite a fair bit in the last few weeks, and then obviously that's ditched Google's. So, do you think with the new Perplexity browser and OpenAI starting their own browser, do you think Google can actually are going to be worried, or do you think they'll just carry on?
They have been worried for 2 years now. We can see those frantic moves. Okay, launch tomorrow. They have been, and that's actually amusing to see, because they had been worried for 2 decades now, and now they are. So to me, that's exciting that they are worried and they're trying to catch up. I'm not sure. I love data. I just saw, and I have my own little subreddit where I curate those news, by the way. It's SEO for AI. And that's how I try to make sense of anything that's going on. So I saw data saying that Gemini is showing a much faster growth pace than ChatGPT. But then if you look at that data, It's like if you go from clicks to 1 click, it's 100% growth.
Yeah.
It's much faster than ChatGPT for sure. So that's why I'm saying I don't know what is meant by market share. I think Google is very still not easy to catch up with in terms of search market share. And what we are seeing, at least from different studies, is that people do go to Google after they do research on ChatGPT, just because there are not many clicks from ChatGPT. Like they would mention a brand, but you have to go to Google to find it, or they would do further research in Google. So that at this point, ChatGPT is not replacing Google, at least now, maybe because we didn't have that much time. I'm sure new generations will be just going to ChatGPT, and because it's been just 2 years, the searching behaviors are too strong to break. So people do go to search. So I don't know how to interpret the market share here, maybe that AI market share, but sure, Google is still very on top of search market share, and they're not, at this point at least, they're not replaceable.
Yeah. Obviously, there's so many like different nuances and stuff that come into it, and we do know like things are so fragmented now that people just could bop around to all different platforms and stuff before they make that decision. So yeah, Google's still embedded in so many people's minds in terms of search. So I'm sure that's going to take a long, long time to kind of get out of people's systems as the new generations come through. Let's talk about e-commerce, because obviously I agree. I think many people do. And we're already seeing, as you say, those signals in ChatGPT and stuff that the future, and Google have also made their intentions clear. Like the future of e-commerce will be that kind of more direct buying process. So how do e-commerce sites get ready for that? And what are the things they should be looking to do, do you think?
Well, I'm sure many of them are more than ready at this point, just because they have been working with things like Google Shopping, and they have all those shopping feeds quite ready, well optimized. I'm sure that is what is going to work for them. Outside of that, in ChatGPT, they are promising, I don't think they launched yet, but they are promising shopping feed support. So, and if you're on Shopify, I would say just keep an eye as well as you can, being an early adopter of things like that. The day ChatGPT launches things like shopping feeds, be there right away. And that is going to be your competitive advantage, because many businesses are slow. And if you're fast in adopting things like that, you will be ahead. And also, we know that ChatGPT takes some time to build up the training data, to understand the websites, the questions. So if you are early there are chances you will be surfaced more than others for a while, because ChatGPT will already know you. So just be on top of things. That's probably my biggest advice here. In most cases, you will be already ready. You will be well prepared and equipped to go with that flow. I don't see a lot of new changes that AI optimization will require from a well-optimized e-commerce site at this point. You will just maybe need to apply to early access here, or do some little changes there. The hardest thing at this point, and that's what all businesses are telling me, is just to know what's going on, because there's so much going on. And that is part of the reason why I started the newsletter and the subreddit, just for myself, to try and make sense of everything. Like there's so much noise. It's unbelievable. All those, like you said, studies, new case research, all of that, like on top of all the announcements and startups from AI and new features from Google. And Google is also launching all those algorithm updates with all of the craziness, and no one can make sense, really. It's very hard. So that is, I guess, the hardest point at this today, is just what is going on and how do I find out? If you can answer that question, I think you will be good just following the flow.
Yeah. And do send that subreddit link so I can put it in description. That'd be cool. And yeah, I think you're right. I think most people are just saying, just do the basics. Like, I think so many people fail to do the bare basics that then they start looking to do more complex things. Well, you haven't got the foundations right, then there's no point looking anywhere else. Like if your your product feed with Google isn't fully optimized, and correct, then obviously that's something you should look at. And then obviously if your product pages and product, landing pages aren't optimized and marked up correctly, then again, these are the signals, same sort of signals. So, and what's interesting as well is obviously a lot of people say is like, search isn't just Google. It's not even just large language models, that things like TikTok Shop. I mean, some of the stats coming out of that in terms of conversion rates on TikTok Shop is like crazy, like good. So looking at other avenues, to get those buyers interested in your products, Instagram and, YouTube and stuff like that.
If you think about that, social media has had those shopping features quite a while now. So it's not exactly new to the industry. You can buy stuff right from Instagram without leaving it. Same with TikTok. So it's very similar, and it's a great point and something I've been advocating. It's not easy, but the great point of diversifying your channels, because we've been relying on Google for too long, and no matter how many lessons we've learned with that, you can lose your 100% of traffic because you've been too reliant on Google in a day, basically. And there is no solution, no recovery, at least for several months, which even the best case scenario. So diversifying is a great idea, especially now that SEO is so much integrated into other channels. These days, when AI can do all that buying research, they do look at social media presence. They do look at Reddit sentiment, Reddit comments on different products. So they do go outside your website for sure. So making sure that your reviews are balanced all over the place. I'm sure you've been, any e-commerce product is being reviewed, or brand, or SEOs. They all have some footprint outside of their website. So make sure you know what people are saying about you, because that will be used by AI to drive those buying decisions.
Yeah, and obviously that goes towards everything, like your local listings. I keep saying about an example, and I can't remember where I heard it, but there was a company and they, were looking at the sales on ChatGPT, and it said that one of their places, their locations were shut. And they were like, well, it isn't, it's open. So they were trying to review why they think it was shut. And then they found an article from way back, like quite a few years ago, saying that this place is shut down. And, and obviously they've reopened it since, but that's the thing, is looking through the archives, looking through different sites, so if something said on a trusted website, and you haven't put anything out about it or tried to rectify it, then it could damage your reputation or your abilities. So yeah, interesting. And actually, you're very good at moving me on to certain subjects, because I was about to go on to Reddit. So what's your take on Reddit's kind of growing influence in search, and what should SEOs be watching out for? Like, should SEOs be actively, like, should companies or, brands, should they be actively doing things on Reddit, do you think?
So many thoughts about Reddit. There are no easy answers when you talk about Reddit, for sure. So first of all, what I like to say about Reddit is that it's in that overlap between traditional search and AI for two reasons. First of all, it's ranking incredibly well. I'm sure it's temporal. We've seen Google doing that with other social media networks, or even trying to launch their own all the time. So they do need that user input. That's why they are elevating Reddit so much. We don't know for how long, but it is there right now. And it is now driving, especially bottom of the channel, of the funnel, because for any branded search, take just about any branded search, especially in retail, e-commerce, all those, you will see Reddit results. People discussing those brands. And that is the most bottom of the channel of the funnel you can only imagine. Because when people start searching for brands, they are already on the edge of making that buying decision, because they first know the brand. For some reason, you may have invested in Instagram ads. We have many clients that have Reddit problems right after that. Just when they started advertising on Reddit or TikTok, people start searching for them, find those Reddit threads, and never buy. So imagine like investing a lot of money into some marketing campaign, and then everything breaks at that point when people find those Reddit threads, and they rank everywhere. Secondly, AI, Gemini, all of them are using Reddit for training data. So they are already researching you, your brand, your product through that Reddit sentiment. Because how else do you find reliable user input? That's how. Reddit is very angry community in most cases. It's very diverse. Subreddits are different, but in most cases, most customers will only go to Reddit to discuss a brand when they have a bad experience. So you can have 5%, 1%, there will always be unhappy customers for any business. I've learned that launching my own for 20 years. There will always be haters, or just people who misunderstood something, or people who had genuine bad experience with your customer support for any reason. It's all like, we're all humans. And they go to Reddit. There is no good reason for happy customers to go to Reddit to defend your brand or just say they're great. So it's more you are dealing in most cases with very negative comments, with very negative reviews. And where the funny part starts is that there is no 100% good solution there. We have had many brands trying all kinds of ways to manage that. You can go and with the official account, try to defend yourself. We have things when it blows up, when customers just start attacking that brand even more. What it does to those threads, it pushes them even more popular. It's very hard to get rid of those threads once they go viral, because of brands trying to just have their voice there, and doesn't work well in most cases. Some companies that we are dealing with try to buy freelance service or other agency services that would pretend they would use a network of their Reddit accounts and pretend to be happy customers. Never works well as well. Reddit is all human driven. They can smell something inauthentic or sponsored from a mile. It's very hard to be authentically faking any sentiment there. I guess that's why Reddit is so useful for training data for search results. Because in most cases, yes, it's angry, but it's genuine. It's very hard to fake anything on Reddit because it's humanly moderated and it's not AI driven. People can understand when it's not authentic. So this is the vicious circle. It's already impacting your sales funnel on many levels, from long tail queries to branded queries. And there is no good solution unless you just breathe, understand there is no short term. I need to invest a lot of time and energy and education in treating those customers and treating that sentiment, which is a very hard sell to when trying to explain to businesses who are already suffering from Reddit. They come to us like, we need these threads gone tomorrow. And we're like, nothing we can do for that. There is no fast solution. Just like with SEO, I would say at this point, you have to be take it at least 3 to 6 months to learn where you're discussed, which problems. Usually, like there are 2-3 problems, even for bigger brands, that get repeated from thread to thread. And when you address them from your side, from your official subreddit, from your official account, without being protective, aggressive, defensive, that usually works. You just need, in most cases, and that's a funny story too, businesses choose to be very vague on their terms of refunds, on their even pricing, all those companies that give you the price only after you demo or whatever. And they don't want straight away to tell you. All of that goes to Reddit. Those are red flags. They are surprised by the price because you don't tell them beforehand. They're asking for a refund and they're complaining on the vague terms of service. All of those problems on Reddit are actually, in many cases, fixable on your site and on your social media profiles if you choose to face the reality. You have to be more transparent, and you have to fix those issues first before trying to go on Reddit and try to say something you don't understand. That's how it works. Doesn't help. Go from the foundation, from your messaging, from your website. That's what we do for Reddit. The first step is always research. What are those common problems, common questions that need to be addressed? And how we choose to address them, that's where the solution starts. And after that, yes, you can go on Reddit as the official entity. You can start your own subreddit to send your happy customers there and kind of balance that sentiment. So after that, the action comes after that. First, you need to know what we are solving and how.
Yeah, great points. I think it's similar to what has always kind of been around in terms of reviews, like with Trustpilot, and yeah, I think companies have underestimated this, like that blocker to people actually going on and, like you say, become defensive over it rather than reactive about it and, proactive about making the changes internally. I think it's a great resource to learn about how to improve your products, like you say. And obviously, yeah, sorry, go.
That's why I'm saying, like, we've been trained by Google that we can hide that sentiment for many years. All those organic branded search reputation management services that elevate something positive and something you can control and push something down that you don't necessarily want people to see. And we try to do the same with Reddit, but there is no getting away from Reddit that way because it's not organic. It's not ranking organically. It's elevated artificially by Google. So there is no way to replace those threads in search results. And instead of trying to fake something good, it's wiser to use all that sentiment, all those reviews, all those user-generated input into their experiences with your brand to fix your business. In the long term, it's better for your brand anyways. You have more brand advocates. You'll have more conversions just because you did that part. It's usually very easy. It's just, yes, in most cases, a lot of levels of approvals, especially for bigger businesses, like they're very hard to move in that way. But there's no other way.
Yeah, and like you say, you can balance it out a bit, with the whole EEAT stuff. It's even more important to like showcase that. So, this is where companies should be proactive to putting up those positive news stories, those positive case studies across their social media and their website and so on. So if you're active in that area as well, trying to rectify the issues being brought up, you should be in a lot better position because, like you say, everyone's going to get bad reviews and angry customers, so no matter how good you are. But obviously, there are ways you can deal with it, as you mentioned. So, yeah, no, great points. And I love Reddit I don't agree 100% how visible it is on search, I've got to admit, but it's a great resource for researching topics and finding what some of the other tools that we use don't identify as quickly as what's being found on Reddit. So it's a great resource for that as well.
Yeah, it is. I agree on many levels, not just for my professional work, but anytime I'm trying to go anywhere, I would go to Reddit to just see what others are saying. What's the best scenery, like scenic spot to find? Because that's nothing you can find on Google Maps. Like, where do you park to see everything beautiful, or something, little details that you cannot find elsewhere, you can definitely find on Reddit. But it is intimidating in terms of, like, I've been using it from decades, and from my personal account, you will not see a lot of like not much input. I'm trying to just read. Now that I started the subreddit, of course, getting more active, but me personally, I have a team that has been using Reddit for 12 years because we were one of the early adopters way before it became a thing. And they are much better at understanding what you can say, how you can word things on Reddit, not to get everyone angry. And even then, sometimes we'll receive some negative comments because it's just unavoidable.
Yeah, I mean, that's inevitable, yeah. I guess so. As we've said, like, search changing so much. So what would you say that SEO should focus on the most right now, and what should they probably be ignoring,
Just like you said previously, fundamentals are not done in many cases. I would say most cases, even established businesses coming to us, they don't have the fundamentals and the fundamentals are you create relevance on your website. It's problem-solving content. It's something talking about the pain points of your customers. Many businesses don't even have that. Making sure your site is easy to crawl, making sure you have all those sitemaps that are making it. Even HTML sitemap is back at this point because that's how it's much easier for AI crawlers to access pages as well. So it's almost like looking back 20 years ago. It's almost like we are at that stage now. No JavaScript, or at least making sure that it works without JavaScript. A lot of that, but in essence, yes, you need a fast website. Yes, you need it to be very easy to crawl. With anyways, like I said, there are solutions like HTML sitemap, schema. Okay, yes, that is important too. So on your site and creating relevance, talking about yourself, that's something I refer to as brand knowledge content. So giving more information about yourself, your business, what you're doing, what your target audience, how are you positioned as compared to other solutions. All of those are important now, more important than before, because your website is as good food for training data as just about any website. So before you start looking outside, make sure you have all that information on your website and you have relevant content. I think one of the things that is newish, I think we had to do that for years, but now it's like more important to talk about problems and then put your products as one of the solutions. So not so much. Yes, keywords are still great. And we've seen that a lot. Even keyword research just to understand those problems in the first place. But also we are seeing a lot of dependence on keywords from AI mode, AI overviews. They would literally find exact match keywords. You would not see them in organic search results. But in AI answers, they are paying attention. So keyword still there, still very quality. But trying to put your product in the context that is problem solving is more important now, because people come to AI and they are being trained to searching prompts. They are going to use AI mode the same way. They come with problems, not with keywords, and being the solution, being known as the solution to that problem is very important. So we've been talking about answer engine optimization for a while now, but that's in a nutshell what it is. Answering questions, addressing problems, walking people through steps, and some step, yes, mention your product as the context. And that is going to be used by AI as well anytime they they try to solve those problems. And also talk more clearly. We've seen a lot of studies and experiments and all of that when AI can be easily convinced if you say in a very clear, confident style, any question answered that way with like yes, no, and then just one sentence, clear sentence of the answer. They are very easily tricked, even for very contradictory topics. Like if you ask them which is better, Republicans or Democrats, there's no answer, right? But if you answer it very confidently, at some point, you have to go, okay, this is better. They are very easily tricked and convinced. So talk very clearly, especially when it comes to Q&As, answering questions, even answering reviews on your website or elsewhere is very much more important now than it ever was, because we were trained to match keywords for many years. And it's a little bit more these days. It's not just about keywords. It's about being very clear in your messaging, that don't be vague. Don't try to do everything. Be good at some very well-defined concepts. Be good at solving some very well-defined problems, and the easier it is for AI to understand what it is and how you solve that, the better you're off.
Yeah, great points. I think picking up on a couple of things, I think when I've looked at websites, like people presume way too much that search engines know who they are and what they do. So I see like their about page or something, and it either goes into great detail about who they are, but not enough about what they actually do, or the other way around. So talk about what they do and who are they,
Yep.
So they totally just presume, because it could be like they do billboards and TV adverts, so they presume that the search engines will know who they are. Well, that's not going to be the case, obviously. And it's a great point. So then also is sitemaps. Like we're seeing a lot about large language model sitemaps. I can't tell if it's a good thing or a bad thing yet. What's your point of view?
I think it's we were just discussing that on Reddit yesterday. I have a very conflicting thoughts about the opinion about that. First of all, it's not officially supported anywhere. But secondly, it doesn't hurt. I don't see it hurting anyone as well. So when it comes to my personal perspective, I do not recommend doing that for my clients, just because if I write an audit or roadmap, I want every step of that to move the needle. And there's very few businesses have nothing to do on their website or outside of their website to start dedicating time to something like LLM, TXT, or something like that. So I would not try to, I'm very focused, so I will not try to include LLM TXT in my audit just to have it longer. I know it's not working at this point. But when other people recommend doing that, I'm not arguing. Who knows? Robots TXT were not fast to adopt as well. One search after another, a search engine after another started supporting it at some point, but not all of them at the beginning. So we will see. Maybe very, very low chances. I don't see it hurting anyone. If you want, there are generators for that. Go ahead. If you want, go ahead. I will not argue with that, because at this point, actually, who knows? Unless it hurts, I would say no, don't do that. But if it's not hurting anything and you have time and energy to experiment, go ahead. Maybe you will be ahead of the crowd one day when suddenly all the platforms will be like, yep, we support it. Very few chances, like I said, it's very low chance it will happen, but I don't see it hurting anyone either.
Yeah, I guess I agree with that. I think I'm going to wait till there's more conclusive evidence of it before I do anything.
Exactly. Just because we don't have time. I don't have
Yeah.
time. I don't want to waste my client's time on that. I'm keeping an eye on where it's going, but I don't have time. If you do have time, go ahead. That's my bottom advice on this matter.
That's good. And we get through the next few points, I guess, and then we'll wrap it up. But so in terms of like, because things are, like we say, changing, and I find like the tools I'm using are changing a bit as well, and the ones that are like, some are progressing quicker than others and adapting to the new world than others. What's kind of your go-to tools now in terms of like tracking progress and, tracking algorithm shifts and that kind of thing? What's your go-to?
Such a good question. I think technology is developing very fast, but not fast enough to mature into something very useful. I do use SEMrush because I've been using it since day one of its existence. I like Ahrefs. Both of them are getting very expensive. So I'm having problem with that. I'm sure they cannot avoid that. SimilarWeb is getting much better, but absolutely even more expensive as well. To get access to the AI intelligence platform, you need to see through a demo, which is never a good sign. They would not even tell you the pricing beforehand. I am looking at all kinds of startups. ZipTie Dev, I think that's one of the biggest one. Profound is another good one. There are quite a few of newer names in the industry, not necessarily good solutions. Like I cannot just use one. If I do AI audit for someone, for a brand, for example, 80% of that is definitely searching and checking answers manually at this point. And then I would also use a variety of tools, ZipTie, Utterly, SEMrush, Profound, quite a few tools just here and there. I like one report in one tool. I make screenshot from another tool. I export citations from all of them and then just find overlaps. Still a lot of manual work, a lot of playing with Excel files or spreadsheets to combine, to repackage, to sort, to color code, using all kinds of things to better understand the trend. It's not necessarily I'm putting all of that in the report, in the final report, but I take at least 1-2 days to just play here and there before I understand like the actual what's going on, the actual what's in training data, how brands are positioned there. And traffic is okay as one of the signs that you're doing well in ChatGPT. We're seeing more clicks across the board from ChatGPT, even from Perplexity. But I think it's not enough for sure. The answer itself is what going to drive decisions. Like I said previously, if you ask for something like best headphones for running, for example, yes, there will be citations with like listicles showing you where exactly the answer was driven from. But people are looking at the answer itself. These are your options. This is how they compare. If you're in the like rainy weather all the time, in the rainy climate, this is what you need to choose. If you have a low budget, look at these options. The answer is going to drive the decisions. And there is no good way at this point to understand how often you are in those answers. Because in most cases, people see all those options and go to Google search for brand names. That's why we see across the board higher branded search impressions and overall volumes. So I'm still looking. I guess that's my bottom line. I think for my personal perspectives, for my goals, for what I and how I'm doing it, there's no great solution at this point, like not ultimate solution. I have to cross-check a lot of tools, do manual searches, ask people abroad to generate those searches for me and send me screenshots. So I don't have one solution. I could say that's all I'm using.
Yeah, I mean, I asked that because I posed the same sort of question in the recent Real Talk with Sean episode, and similar answer. I think we all agree there's not one tool that does everything we actually need as SEOs. I'm very frustrated with some tools that, they're moving with the times, but then they're putting a paywall behind the stuff you actually need. And so you've invested all that money into the product and then suddenly you need it and now you can't get it because it's behind an extra paywall. I think that's quite frustrating. I think, One of the tools that really have impressed me actually is advanced web ranking. I think they've adapted to things really well, like grouping things into topics and showing their AI coverage across those. I think it's been really impressive. And I did a survey recently about 50 odd SEO experts like got involved, and I asked about tools they've been using. Like I say, there's a lot of new kids on the block in terms of like AI based tools. And one of them, like you say, that came out quite heavily on that. Well, there's a couple. So Profound was one, and SparkToro were the two that kind of came out that I'm not using at the moment, but it was interesting. So yeah. We're just one more topic, then I'll let you go.
Yeah, I'd like to interrupt. First of all,
Okay.
how come I wasn't part of that survey? You never.
I don't know. I don't know if I sent it. Sorry.
And secondly, that's a good point about advanced web ranking, and good reminder. I have heard good things about them, and for some reason, always forget to check them. I was using them years ago, but because SEMrush, it used to be the ultimate SEO tool for sure. You wouldn't need many other. You wouldn't need to invest. That's why for many years it remained my go-to tool. It's no longer my go-to tool. So it's time to check back with advanced web ranking for sure. Thank you for that.
No, I agree. I think SEMrush for me was, you had to put a gun to my head. I would have said, keep SEMrush at all costs, no matter what we do. And now, like you say, it's definitely not my first port of call when I look at doing an audit or something. So, interesting. And I don't know about actually the role of tools going forward. I think when I had that real talk with Sean episode, and Mark Williams Cook said something that really started to ring, put a light bulb in my head in terms of like, what do you actually use tools for? Do you just use generally to track things, but you don't actually extract any real good insights to make changes? And that's something that really it made me think, because I'm like, what's the point of investing all that money into things to just help you track things?
Yep. I'm seeing that across the board from across all the tools I've been testing and playing with and using for audits. They're not actionable enough. Like you would see all that data, but not necessarily understanding what you do with this data. And back in SEO, there were definitive steps. This is what you do. You don't have that keyword, you create a landing page. You'll have fewer backlinks than your competitors. You invest in backlinks. So there were clear steps after all those reports you run, exactly addressing what you do with all that data. It's not that case anymore. Like you don't know still, okay, I'm less visible than my competitors. So what do I do? No easy steps after that. So definitely right. I'm still running tools to better understand the market, but all the insights, all the steps, all the roadmaps are coming not from there. It's already absolutely different steps. So I can see for businesses, it's losing value. All the rank tracking, keyword analysis, and all of that, like even reputation analysis. I can see like, okay, so what's next? No tools give you that answer.
Yeah, not completely, no. One more, and then I'll let you go. So in terms of content creation, has your approach changed to content creation, and kind of what's your process for creating content that still earns that, the click? Because obviously they're going to be harder to come by now. So, yeah.
I've always been, nothing changed in my way, because I think that I've always been the advocate of building those, people call them differently at different stages of SEO. There used to be a lot of hub pages, now it's clusters. Something pillar content. There are all kinds of names for that, but I usually, anytime I'm working with a website, yes, those are clusters or whatever you call them, grouping, clustering. So there's always like a parent page, and there are always sub pages that go deeper into the topic, and they're well all interlinked. So I've been doing that for many years, and I've been noticing all kinds of ways to call them. I mean, every other expert would come out and say, okay, this is what we're doing, this is how it's called. But in reality, we've been doing that a lot through internal linking, and it was making sense for organic search for sure. Because that when we started doing that, that was long tail keyword optimization, basically, because you cannot optimize one page for all of those. So you had to dig deeper and create more detailed guides or more detailed pages, landing pages for e-commerce, kind of follow the same way with like bundling and categories, subcategories. So, and now it makes sense because you really don't know how people prompt or how people do, but you know that the more specific guides and topics you cover and you kind of organize them the way they are all easy to find for people or for AI agents, the better are the chances you will be coming up in AI answers as a reference, or they will just take your content and just put it whichever works for them. At this point, it's funny. We've been discussing that a lot. Had such a weird time we are living in, where they come to steal our content. They come to ruin our hosting because all those clicks from ChatGPT, I'm sure you've heard, they're killing servers, and yet we optimize for them. I mean, it's a weird, it's definitely a weird situation, but there's no way around that. Yeah, you have to have visibility there one way or another, and we will adjust our strategy based on what's working. But anyways, yep, not really changed in that regard. In many levels, it's a good strategy with internal linking, and it's meaningfully contextual internal linking, and then going deeper into the subject of any landing page is useful, was useful for long tail traffic, now still useful for long tail traffic, but also gets you more findable in AI answers for sure.
Say your website's hugely informational based, and you haven't perhaps been doing it as well as you have in the last few years. Would you be recommending doing anything differently if because we know those websites have been hit massively. I've seen it myself,
My God, I do not claim to be an expert in what they have to be doing now. I tell you that I don't have answers for publishing businesses. I would say diversify your channels rather than trying to fix whatever you were struggling with. Some of them, it's helpful content, most of them. Some of them are struggling with that automated content update was probably 2023 when they were trying to kill automated content, but killed a lot of non-automated content as well. We've seen that a lot with Google updates, many cases. You don't know what the problem is or how to address that. And now they are all also struggling with losing clicks to AI answers. What do? They find more avenues to invest in. That would be what that could be doing in their place. And I do have a few little websites that just content. And at this point, I'm like, whoa, good thing I don't have time for you anymore because I don't know what to do. So diversifying and building some product, I would say, whether it's sponsored newsletter, something on your site that lives with you, do not depend on new clicks as much, and can sustain you if you lose some portions of traffic, like of course you did. I've seen a lot of publishers, and I went to blogging conferences, post a helpful content update, and all of them had one thing in common. They were able to very quickly pivot to a different channel before or during helpful content, because it came in stages. It did give us many clues, like 23 helpful content impacted some publishers, but not as much. And then the one that came 6 months ago, I think that's killed many more. So they could see it coming. So they pivoted to Facebook groups, TikTok, Pinterest is huge in some industries as traffic driver. So I would say, do not invest your time in trying to fix SEO. We saw recoveries to people who are not did nothing to recover just with the previous update. So if you provide value, you will probably recover, but it will not be the same traffic level you had 2-3 years ago anyways. So look outside. Maybe it's Reddit. Maybe it's building your community on Reddit, or maybe it's Pinterest, or maybe it's Facebook, or maybe it's LinkedIn, depending on who you are and what you do. That could be like, I started a newsletter on LinkedIn. That is one thing to do, but you can also syndicate it to other platforms. Substack, I'm using Medium, like everything you can, basically. So diversify, I would say, stop thinking about search traffic as much and try to find other avenues. Takes time, but it will sustain you if you diversify throughout all kinds of things that's going on in our industry.
Yeah, that's good points. I think obviously, like you say, it's all about education. So if you're getting pressures from stakeholders and that, obviously the education around that traffic is probably not going to come back. And it should be more tracking less about clicks, but more about visibility and presence on those platforms. And then, like you say, look at other opportunities. Are you fully utilizing your YouTube channel and things like that, other platforms, like we said before, TikTok and so on. Yeah, no, great chat. I really enjoyed this. I could talk for another hour, but I'll let you go. Before we go, is there anything you've got coming up you wanted to share? Anything people should be looking out for?
I think I already shared one of this week's project that I told you about, my subreddit. Excited about that, been there for I set it up a few weeks ago, but then I went on a vacation. And this week was the first one when I started actually being active there. So pretty excited about that. Again, it's SEO for AI. If anyone watching us is on Reddit, welcome. I love all the contributions, feedback. Very excited about that.
Cool. Yeah, well, we'll put a link in the description, and yeah, thanks, Ann. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks for having me again.